Boyd here, and I'm about to transform this raw portrait into a professional edit entirely on the iPad Pro using Affinity Photo 2. This is my complete workflow that rivals desktop editing, and you can do this anywhere. Okay, let's open up my raw file. This is a photo shoot I did with Carlo. Carlo is an actor from Birmingham. He drove down to London. We shot this in Canary Wharf. West India Keys car park. And as you can see, it's a DNG file, which is a raw file. So we're just going to open that up. And the next thing you'll see is a panel where we can do like some of the basic editing in Affinity Photo. So this is like generally my workflow. Okay, here you can see that panel. You can see obviously your raw image. You got panels on the left. You got tools on the left, which you can scroll through. I don't tend to use any of them, to be honest. You know, you got view to the blemish tool, overlay, erase, etc. None of these stuff I don't do no cropping in this panel either. But on the right hand side, like the basics tool, where you got your exposure, your black point, your brightness, you know, your shadows and highlights. This is something that I really use as well. In regards to lens, you know, chromatic aberration. I always pronounce that wrong. And then here, this is like mainly the tool that I use, which is detail refinement. But yeah, as you can see, you've got panels here that suits your liking. So going back to the detail, I usually start here, and the reasons why, because I want to really focus on the detail. I tend to put the radius around about 80, and then the amount to around about 75. But I think on this case, I may put it to 80 because the details I want in the skin is to pop. So you can see the detail. You can see the detail in how much it's bringing into the skin and so forth. So this is very much like the Photoshop panel that opens up where you can refine your raw file. And let's do a little before and after. You see the detail? Again, you can go crazy as much as you want, but because I'm trying to bring that natural look, I really want the skin to pop and so forth. And I know what kind of retouching I'm looking to get at the end of this edit. So yeah, my thing is very much about the detail in the skin. So that's highly important for me. So exposure panel, again, I like to kind of just kind of adjust this. I tend to focus on the shadow and highlights. If the highlights are too overexposed, or if the shadows are too heavy, again, you're trying to bring in that detail in the skin. I'm not so fussed about the hair, it's mainly the skin, because that's, you know, and around the eyes as well, because as I say, the eyes are the windows to the soul. So making sure that you get that beautiful lighting that comes in. And I think what's really important to note is that you really want to make sure that you capture the portrait in the best possible quality as you can. Then you do the editing, because it allows you to have less, you know, it kind of reduces the editing time. And I think that's really important. Okay, with this, just looking at the lens distortion and a chromatic aberration, defringing as well. Again, these are extra tools if you want to look into. I think more with me is the vignette, and that's important. Again, there's hardly any change to this, but you can see a slight change. Let me zoom in. You see a slight change in the corners. And I like to have full control, but again, not something that you have to spend much time on. But yeah, it's just some of the things that I look for. Okay, so we're done with editing the raw file. We've brought it into the main panel. This is where I do most of my work. So here you got the layers files, you have adjustments, you have filters, etc. A little different in regards to the naming as you would typically have in Adobe Photoshop. But you can get your head around it. Pretty simple after a while. So in filters, what I tend to start off with is I go to sharpening and then I go to frequency separation. And this is what I've been banging on about. I think Photoshop needs to incorporate this, where you have frequency separation on the iPad Pro or on the iPad in general. And let me tell you something about frequency separation if you don't already know. You've got the high frequency, which is your detail. You've got the low frequency, which is your color. And the reasons why I utilize this is because I want to keep the detail intact without editing them, and I just want to affect the color. So I tend to put this in around about 2 pixel. That's 2.0 pixel or 2 pixels, and that's like my go-to when it comes to doing my portraits. And here you can see in my layers that you've got the high frequency and the low frequency, and it's separated. And what I tend to do is just put as you can see here, another layer. And with my clone brush, which is a fantastic tool, all I'm going to do is choose a section, or a blemish, should I say, on the face. Just give it a little circle and just drag it across, drag it alongside. And what it does is it takes the pattern from the color, because we're in frequency separation. It takes the color pattern and applies it to that layer. Do you see that? See how beautiful that is? See how easy that is? Just drag it to the side and you remove the blemishes without destroying the detail. And that's absolutely fundamental. One tip that I would advise you to do is to zoom in and zoom out. And the reasons why I insist or suggest that you zoom in, zoom out is because you get a greater view of how your editing is affecting your image. Depending on your style, obviously with my style, I'm trying to create realistic portraits that really convey the soul. So for me, zooming in and zooming out to make sure that my portrait still looks like the original is important. So me focusing and jumping from different parts of the face is showing that I'm only looking for major blemishes that are a distraction, not the minor. Major ones. So when I zoom out, I'm like, oh, this is distracting. I'm removing it. And again, as I said before, it's only the color. It's only the color, because you can still see the beautiful detail of the skin, the pores in the skin. And when I'm dealing with like bags, eye bags, again, it depends on it depends on the age of the client. Because again, if you're older client, you don't want to remove all the wrinkles. You don't want to change that because then it will look odd. The person will look fake, will look plastic. But since Carlo is a young man, removing the bags to a certain proportion is okay. You can get away with it, okay, and he won't look plastic. But I don't overdo it. You can see that I'm correcting and going back on myself, and I'm zooming out and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, yeah, nah. And the reason is I just want to get it right, you know. And that's what's really important. You need to have, kind of set yourself a level of how much editing you're actually going to do, because you can go too far. And I've done that many times in my career where I've over edited stuff and I've had to go back to the drawing board. Okay, so now I'm going to create another layer between the high frequency and the low frequency. And the reason is I want to control the color of the skin. Now, as you can see on Carlo's face, you can see there's patches of red, patches of brown and so forth. And I want to try and blend these colors. So I'm getting my brush as I've created a layer between the high frequency and the low frequency. And as I said before, we're only affecting the color. To select the color, simply hold your finger down on the iPad screen and then it will select it. And on the top right hand corner, you'll see the color palette will change from your previous color. And what we're going to do, or what I'm doing now, is just blending the skin. So think of yourself as an artist. The color has to blend. There has to be a transition. It cannot be blotchy, because then the face will be blotchy and it'll be an unnatural edit. We want to make sure everything looks natural. So you got to think of yourself, and this is why the photo shoot at that particular time is really important, because I tend to remember what the lighting was. I tend to remember the interactions between myself and Carlo, or the client, and that reminds me of how I felt that day when I shot, and how I felt when I was trying to capture that portrait that is all about authenticity, connection. So it's really important to remember how you shot in order for you to edit a perfect portrait. And remember, think of yourself as a painter. So you're blending the colors, as I was saying before, but you're also sculpturing. You're creating a sculpture. You're bringing things out and adding more depth and dimension to your image. So when I'm doing this, I'm particularly paying attention to the cheekbones, to the jawline, to the nose structure, around the eyes, etc. Especially if it's not conveying that depth. It's best to always get that right while you're shooting, during your photo shoot. making sure that you understand how light works and how you can emphasize certain aspects of the face just by using light, because it makes your life a lot easier when it comes to the retouching process. Okay, I'm not using the layers exactly perfect. I'm kind of just breezing through this so you just know my workflow. But I would advise you to use different layers and name them. So with the eye, what I tend to do is just use the swatch again, the color picker, holding your finger down on the tablet in the area space of color that you want, and just again gently brush over the eyes. I don't want them perfect because I don't want them all clear of the veins. Unless that person needs a lot of sleep and looks really, really bad, I don't tend to affect the eyes so much. My advice to all clients is to make sure you have a good night's sleep, good night's rest. Okay, here's a bit of the before and after. You can see what we've covered so far, and it's very simple. I haven't gone into much depth, but you're seeing how simple the process can be. Okay, next we're going to go to our curves tool because we're going to create our dodge layer. So this is the process for dodge and burn. I don't usually use burn, but I always use dodge. And I've got one pre-made here, but literally all I'm doing is putting the center point in to create light. And what I'm looking for at this particular point in time is how the dark areas are affected by the curves tool, because that's kind of the tone I want to create. I will manipulate. Don't worry, it's not going to stay light. I will, after naming my layer, I will adjust it so it's inverted as we have done previously. So you go to your channels, go to your Dodge Alpha, and you click invert. Again, go to brushes, and in your brush tool, you go to also color, and you select white. Remember, white reveals, black hides, because it's a mask layer, right? And what we're going to do, if what I'm looking out for, is the dark patchy areas. And these dark patchy areas is what I want to affect and manipulate. Again, this does not, because all your layers are below are intact, you're only affecting just the light. And here you see exaggeration. I've put the brush at 50%, and I'm just showing you how it affects it. Do you see? And obviously we don't want a 50% brush. We want something light, so maybe 2% or 1%, because it's very, very micro retouching process that we're initiating here. And again, you're only looking for those dark patches that doesn't flow well with the image. Like, it's almost like they stand out and there's no real transition smooth transition between dark and light. Because to make it look still realistic and not be patchy as well, or you need to take your time with this process. Put on some music, listen to something soft, and just enjoy it, or listen to music, or listen to a podcast. I listen to a podcast most of the time when I do this. So all we're doing is just painting. And the interesting thing about this, or should I say interesting part of my workflow, is I do turn it to the side. Sometimes I flip it upside down just to have a different perspective. So you see I'm always panning in, zooming in, and zooming out, because it's mighty important that I see things from a different perspective. Just look how smooth it looks. The transition of light and darkness is looking a lot more smoother. You see the structure in the face, you see the color balance as well in regards to the flow of the harsh reds that we had. It looks a lot more natural. I've not taken away every single detail. It just allows it to be more human without it being too harsh and distracting. Just removing some of the simple distractions from the face can prove to make a really strong portrait. You see at this point, there's going to be a lot of zooming in, zooming out, zooming in, zooming out, because I'm just looking for those micro areas to retouch and change. It is the things that really distract me, because like I said, I'm reminded of the photo shoot I had with Carlos, and it's almost like I'm carving that memory in my portrait. The conversations, the interactions, the laughter, the questions, it's all part of the process when it comes to me retouching. It's a mad way to kind of describe it, but it's my memories that I'm carving into my photos. I don't know if anyone resonates that way, but or am I just mad? But this is the reason why I love portraits. Portraiture is such a unique skill because you are creating memories, you're creating interaction, and I want my interaction or my portrait to resonate with my viewer. So that's why I take this process. I don't go from one side of the face all the way down. I'm zooming out, zooming in, and seeing, oh, you know what, this doesn't remind me, or this is distracting. I don't remember this in the photo shoot. And that's why I'm very picky when it comes to editing. And I think everyone should be, because it helps you to create your own style. No one should be retouching exactly the same, or retouching, or photographing or retouching exactly the same, because we're all unique, we're all different. We will see things in a different perspective. We will see things in a different light, and that's really important. Okay, let's look at the retouching. Let's just remove some of the layers so you can see where we came from the initial retouch. Again, this is quite a quick retouching session. I tend to spend a little bit more time, but you can see the difference. Okay, I'm doing what I should have done from the beginning, is label in my layers. I tend not to do it because, again, like I said, I have a workflow. I don't have hundreds of layers. It's a very, very simple process. So I'm just doing it because I'm just saying, look, put this into practice. Layer your, name your layers, get used to doing that, so that you can stay organized. I don't hand over my files to anyone else. So there's no one else retouching. People are purchasing my skills from start to finish, from the actual photo shoot, the consultation, the photo shoot, to the retouching and delivering of the images. Okay, so if you are working with a team and they do, you know, retouch your images or have to add additional retouching to the images, it is very helpful to name your files. Okay, again, we're going to go to adjustments, and we are looking for the curves tool, because we're going to do the exact same thing, creating a curve tool, but we're going to be working on the eyes now. So as you heard, the eyes are the windows to the soul, and we want to make sure the eyes are popping. These are the ones, this is like one of the most important process for me. If the subject is looking directly into the camera, it really allows the connection between myself and the viewer, the audience or whatnot, or my client itself, whoever gets to see the image. So again, name your layers, as I said before, and we're going to invert, as we have done previously, as I explained earlier in the video, and set your brush to white, make sure it's 100%, and bring the flow to 5%, 7%. Again, depends how much light's already there. I don't want to add too much light because it won't look authentic. And again, we're just applying. Oh, this is a good point. So light comes in from, as you can see, the light is on the left-hand side, and it comes in and bounces out the opposite side. So that's why I'm highlighting a certain part of the iris itself. I think I've already created a video on that, but I will create a new video on that showing the various different ways you can edit eyes so that they're powerful and engaging and attractive, really. So again, just the smaller details, the reflection in the eyes as well. I'm just adding some light to it. Okay, just highlighting it, along with the liquid that is produced from the eye as well, just to emphasize it. All of this small detail is really, really, really important to get that right, and so that the eye just looks strong, it looks bold, it looks alluring, and that's one of my primary objectives when it comes to portraits. And another advice, allow your portrait to breathe. Over retouching can take away the human connection. It needs to breathe, it needs to live. So think of it as a human being, which is quite strange for me to say off the top of the dome, but you have just had a photo shoot with a human being. Keep the authenticity, keep the connection, keep the humanity. There's so many people out there generating AI content, and for your work to stand out, it needs to be an experience. To allow your portraits to breathe. Okay, this should do it. Let's have a look at what we've created here. Look how glassy the eyes look. It looks amazing. Before and after. That looks great. So it's really important to zoom out just to make sure that it don't look too fake, but it looks natural. It looks beautiful. Love the details in the eyes. And then again, zooming out even further. Yeah, it looks good. So again, at this point, I'm still looking around, seeing what I can rectify. Is there anything any patches that's there that needs to be fixed, any errors that I've missed that is still a bit of a distraction, anything I need to sculpture so that the features will stand out. So, as you come to the end of your retouch session, where you start to think, yeah, we're close, we're nearly there. Or we're near enough there, it's always good to go over your image and just do those minor changes. We haven't applied any kind of filter, any kind of preset on here. So again, it's always best to kind of do things in its natural form, see what the changes are, and then when you apply your filter, it's just going to be banging. It's going to look that much better. So let's have a look. Dodge and burn. Dodge tool. You can see what's affected. That looks good. Just see a few things that need to be rectified. I think along the moustache area it looks a bit dark. Let's just lighten that just a bit, just a tad. Okay, let's focus on the hair now. So the hair, I don't tend to spend a lot of time on it. I'm only going to focus on the highlighting the highlights, and maybe, in Carlos' case, there's not much to do. He had his hair cut beforehand. He had already prepared for the shoot. Went to the barbers and got his hair trimmed for this particular shoot. So there's not much I need to do with it, but there are so many different ways to do it. I don't like spending a lot of time on hair. I do think most of my time is best spent on creating the dynamic portraits that will help make the bring in engagement, bring in the connection, and so forth. I don't do I'm not doing a hair shoot, so therefore I don't need to really focus on that as much. But there are really good AI tools that allows you to get rid of the loose strands. Maybe I'll do a tutorial on that and how I utilize that kind of workflow. I tend to complete the image and bring it into a AI program that helps to control the loose strands of hair and really help shape the hair as well. So I'll do a later tutorial at some point. Okay, let's look at the hair before and after. See how just a little bit of highlight can help the hair pop as well. So it just kind of just sits well with the image. So yeah, that's about it with the hair. Just label it and keep it simple, keep it moving, keep it rolling. But I will definitely show you a more unique and convenient way of doing hair. That is just my simple way of doing hair. If the hair is already nicely cut and trimmed, then there's not much you have to do really. Okay, so let's look at what we've done so far. You've seen the blemishes removed, dodge and burn tool, smoothed in color control on the skin and the hair is all done and dusted. And you can see it's looking really, really nice, really natural structure to the face, especially for a male as well, keeping that structure intact, bringing that depth as well, highlighting to bring more depth into the image. So we're going to give it a bit of a boost. So we're going over to gradient. I've got some already settings. In fact, shadow and highlight first actually. And I've got something that I tend to use. I kind of overcompensate with the shadows just to take away a bit more of the harshness, because I don't want it to be harsh. It's not a harsh, contrasty portrait. It's something that's going to be quite natural, but with that dynamic oomph to it, that dynamic buoyed visuals finish to it. So I tend to kind of just play around with the shadows and highlights. And at this time, we don't really need to have harsh highlights. So bring that down. And the shadows, again, you see I'm doing the before and after because I'm kind of judging it on the finish quality. What am I trying to achieve from it? Is it more dramatic in shadows or is it less? And right now I'm just questioning myself. What do I actually really want? And I think that's something that's really important that you always do. Don't just think, oh, that looks great, and don't try to edit anything else. Try to experiment, try to see if you can push the portrait a bit further. In regards to white balance, I think it'd be nice to have a more colder feel to it. It has that vibe of a young person as well, in their 20s. It has that kind of rich boy kind of feel to it. I wouldn't say boy band. I'll be very careful. I wouldn't say boy band, but it has this kind of feel to it, which just resonates with my portrait. It really connects as well. It's not too warm, not too cold. There's a serious engagement that I'm getting from it as well. And in regards to LUTs, I have my own presets, as you can see there. Once I click that on, boom, look at that. It just brings that urban feel to it. This is something that I developed over time, which is part of my style. And with LUTs I'll do a tutorial on LUTs as well, how you can create your LUTs, how you can save them and so forth. I utilize this particular one where it says Void Visuals Brown Beauty because it has that urban feel to it. It's something that I usually apply to all my portraits. Now I'm looking at, oh, something's wrong. Let me see if I can go back into it again. Just adjust, hold on. Yeah, I'm just boosting those shadows as well. I think it's too much. again, I don't want it to take away from the eyes, from the stare, from the structure as well. So I want those cheekbones to really, not to stand up too much, but just to be subtle enough that it brings character. See, the worry is you don't want it to be washed out as well. And I'm thinking it looks a bit washed out. So I want to bring back some of the shadows into it, because you just want to make sure it's not flat and it doesn't look, because especially when you got the balance of you got the cold filter that I've added to it, that adjustment layer, where it's more cold. If I take away too much of the shadow, then it becomes flat and washed out. So you want to be careful with that. So look at the details here. I feel this is really good. And you know, zooming in at a particular percentage helps to see it. Obviously we've got the jumper, the bits on the jumper. I know this is a retouching process. I'm a retouching class just to show my workflow, but let's go for it. Okay, so go and select your patch tool, and in the in-painting brush tool, we're gonna eliminate those strands really quickly by literally creating a pixel layer as I did before. And you got to make sure that your current layer at the top of the screen is on current layer and below. Again, add your layer. As I said before, I don't do it, but yeah, just select and let Affinity Photo generate the pattern for you. You know, it does a really good job, especially in something like this. Again, it's picking up pixels that's close by, so it's a very simple thing to do. But yeah, just quickly go over that. It doesn't have to take time, it doesn't have to take long, because no one's really looking at the jumper, but you kind of want it to be clean, so there's no distracting parts on it, no distracted pieces, no dirt marks or different lines that will draw the viewer's eyes away from the face. That is the key thing. You don't want to draw the viewer's eyes away from the face, and that is really important. That's really important. So remove any distraction that you can. Okay, we are here, we're at the end. So let's look at what we have achieved in such a short period of time. Let's look at the transition of edits that we have made, so that we can see what we have edited. Okay, we'll turn off all of these, keep the high frequency on. Okay, let's see. So you can see the before, with the blemishes, with the coloring of the skin, with the detail, without the editing to the eyes, without the bridging of the nose, without the structure, and without the finer details. As we have said, the only thing that has been applied was when we was in the raw panel, when we got to see when we added the sharpness to the skin and the image itself. So there we go, that's it. Now we got to think about exporting. So this is the next part of the process. After I always like to have another look, just to go around the image to make sure everything looks really good. I think I'll take that logo off the jumper. It is a bit distracting, but I'll do that outside of this, because I think our work here is done. But next thing is to export. So it's simple to export out of Affinity Photo 2. It allows you many options. So you just look for the export button, and that's it. Press OK and choose the file where you want it to be saved. And yeah, just press save and it's all over and done with. And that is it. All over and done with. Thank you for tuning in and watching to the end. If you have any questions, any queries, don't be afraid to leave a comment below. And if you want me to create any further retouching YouTube videos or shorts, just leave your comment below and I will address them. I hope you found this affirming, productive. See you soon. Take care.